This is what unfolded when Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was finally pushed out of Royal Lodge, slipping away late on Monday night to begin what many now call his last exile, as fresh Epstein material sparked new alarm at the heart of the monarchy. This video breaks down the verified facts of that exit, why the timing was important where he has gone, how long this removal had been coming, and what it reveals about his standing inside the royal family today. For more than 20 years, Royal Lodge served as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's home base within the Windsor estate, a 30-room property held under a lease deal that began in 2003 and later became the subject of heavy scrutiny. That long chapter ended quietly, and it ended at night, just before Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026.
Well, Patrick, as you saw first reported in The Sun, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has now relocated from Royal Lodge near Windsor Castle and has moved to a property on the Sandringham estate, as you said, belonging to His Majesty King. Now, this isn't going to be his permanent home, but this is basically a pit stop, as it were, before he...
ITV News reported that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor left Royal Lodge in the middle of Monday night with no warning beforehand and no public comment afterwards. By the next morning, ITV said he was believed to be staying at a property on the Sandringham estate, while also making clear this was not expected to be permanent because his long-term accommodation was still not ready. The lack of ceremony spoke louder than any official statement ever could. The timing of that departure did not happen by chance, and that is where the story tightens.
Isn't due specifically, or at least Buckingham Palace is not being drawn on the fact that, of course, the Epstein files, or more Epstein files, have been released in the last couple of days. But nonetheless, the timing is perhaps pretty significant. So, of course, we knew Buckingham Palace announced in October 2025 that...
ITV directly connected the move to renewed attention around Jeffrey Epstein, reporting that another 3 million pages of documents had been released as part of the Epstein files, a volume large enough to pull the story back into headlines on both sides of the Atlantic. Among that material were photographs which ITV described as undated and released without context, adding clearly that they did not prove wrongdoing. That clarification matters in this story, but here is the issue. The scale of the document release alone was enough to reignite scrutiny the royal family has spent years trying to contain, and that pressure landed at a moment when Andrew's position had already been weakened beyond recovery. None of this played out in a courtroom, but it played out very publicly.
That property is accurate for security reasons, but it has been widely reported that Marsh Farm is the property in question. The reason we know that is because newspaper journalists have had people basically stationed outside that property.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has continued to deny any wrongdoing, and ITV reported his stance directly, saying he claimed he did not see, witness, or suspect the conduct that led to Epstein's arrest and conviction. Those denials, however, were no longer the deciding point. What mattered was the damage to the institution, and this is where the story moves from personal scandal to royal containment. The exit from Royal Lodge had been put in motion months earlier, long before the Monday night departure hit headlines. In November 2025, ITV reported that Buckingham Palace confirmed King Charles III had begun the formal process of removing Andrew's remaining titles, after which he would be known as Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
For a number of months now, and we have seen over the last couple of weeks security cameras being put up. We have seen big privacy fences being put up as well. But Royal Lodge, Patrick, a 30-room mansion, this by royal standards, significantly smaller, not many bedrooms, is a bit of a dump at the moment. Of course, I'm sure by the time Andrew moves into it, it will not be a dump. And I think by anybody watching this programme standards, they're going to think, well, it's still a pretty big property.
At the same time, notice was issued for him to vacate Royal Lodge, with plans already set for him to relocate to accommodation on the Sandringham estate. Crucially, ITV also reported that this new arrangement would be privately paid for by the king, a detail that says a great deal about the effort to cut public funding from the situation entirely. That decision shifted everything. Public scrutiny grew stronger in December 2025, when ITV reported on evidence given by the Crown Estate to the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee. Royal Lodge, MPs were told, was in a rundown state and needed major repairs, an assessment that threw a harsh spotlight on the long-running lease arrangement. The figures placed before the committee were exact. In 2003, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor paid £11 million for the lease, and by 2005, a further £7.5 million had been spent on refurbishments. Figures ITV linked to reporting connected to the National Audit Office.
Royal correspondent. Right, okay. Welcome back to Patrick Christie tonight. Let me give you what is quite a sensational set of front pages, actually. The Sun, they go for Princes of Darkness, disgrace of Epstein pals. Now, this is shamed Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has been booted out of Royal Lodge to a new pad in the dead of night. Mandelson, of course, is going to quit the Lords as cops launch a full criminal probe. The Telegraph, Brown accuses Number 10 of a cover-up.
Then came the figure that grabbed attention. £4,883,421, the compensation he was technically entitled to for early surrender of the lease calculated against an October 30th, 2026 end date. The conclusion was blunt. Because of the condition of the property, the Crown Estate told MPs their initial view was that he would not in practice be owed that compensation. Royal Lodge had become a problem no one wanted to keep carrying. By early 2026, the remaining question was no longer whether Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor would leave Royal Lodge, but how quietly it could be handled. And that is when the plan for his departure began unfolding. ITV reported that he left Royal Lodge in the middle of the night on Monday and was believed to be staying at Sandringham, with the emphasis placed firmly on the temporary nature of that stay. Within hours, more reporting started to fill in the gaps. People magazine confirmed that the immediate plan involved a temporary move to Wood Farm, followed by a later relocation to Marsh Farm once renovation work had been completed. Hello magazine supported that account and added extra detail, reporting visible security upgrades at Marsh Farm, including fencing and CCTV, along with confirmation that the Sandringham no-fly zone had been extended to include the property. The pattern was obvious. Privacy increased, access narrowed, and visibility dropped. Wood Farm itself carries its own quiet symbolism. People reported that it was the place where Prince Philip spent much of his retirement after stepping back from royal duties in 2017, remaining there until his death 2 years later. It was a setting linked to withdrawal from public life rather than importance within it. Hello added another layer, noting that Wood Farm had long been used informally by the family, including stays by Sarah Ferguson, when Andrew's daughters joined the family at Sandringham for Christmas during their childhood. From Royal Lodge at Windsor to Wood Farm at Sandringham, the direction of travel could not be clearer. As Andrew's relocation became public, the tone from other members of the royal family stayed cautious and restrained. People reported comments from Prince Edward who said, "It's really important to remember the victims." His words avoided names and details, but the meaning was unmistakable, and it matched the wider repositioning already underway. The family line had shifted. It is equally important to be clear about what this moment does not represent. ITV stressed that the newly released Epstein photographs were undated, lacked context, and did not prove wrongdoing. No new legal findings were announced and no fresh charges were brought. This was not a legal ruling. It was an institutional decision. When the timeline is laid out from start to finish, the progression is stark. A lease secured in 2003, millions spent on refurbishments by 2005, Epstein's conviction in 2008, formal action taken by King Charles III in November 2025, parliamentary scrutiny in December, and then the quiet departure in the middle of Monday night in early February 2026. Each step reduced Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's space inside the royal family until there was almost none left. As of February 3, 2026, ITV reported that he was believed to be staying at a Sandringham property, while People and Hello confirmed a temporary stay at Wood Farm and a future move to Marsh Farm once renovations are finished. The accommodation is privately funded. Security has been strengthened and public visibility has almost disappeared. This was not a choice. It was a removal. Royal Lodge was never just a house. It represented status, proximity, and permanence inside the royal world. Leaving it quietly under cover of night at a moment of renewed Epstein scrutiny marks the clearest signal yet that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's place inside the visible working monarchy has ended. No announcement was needed. The exile has already begun. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the royal family should make a formal statement about this? Will we see more evidence against Andrew come to light? Be sure to subscribe for more royal news and updates.